Hi and welcome to The Inquisitive Artist, where I, Lindsay Tyson, dive deep into the lives, art and creative processes of fellow artists. I'm fascinated by how others approach their work, their unique perspectives and the ways they navigate life. Join me as I explore candid conversations with artists and creatives from all walks of life. Together, we'll discuss the challenges of the creative journey and share insights to encourage your own artistic path. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to this two-part episode of The Inquisitive Artist. In this conversation, I sit down with talented photographer and artist Melody Thornton at her home in Home Firth. We discuss her work and dive into some deeply personal and thought-provoking topics. Across these two episodes, we discuss themes like art, identity, sexuality and social issues, touching on sensitive subjects such as sexual violence, LGBTQ+ experiences and body politics. Please note that this conversation includes mature and potentially triggering content. Listener discretion is advised. So I was going to ask you about, with your work, is there anything about the shock that, does that ever come into the play, or is it just purely your inspiration and your idea that, or is there that mischievous side of you that thinks, I'm going to do something shocking here to try?
I look back at my work, and at the time it doesn't feel that way. But I think I have to be triggered by something. I can't just go. I did try a few years ago when, because you don't make a lot of money as an artist, as we know, and I needed some money. And so I thought, well, I'll do something a little more pretty, for want of a better word. And I just couldn't do it. My heart was breaking doing it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It just, my soul isn't in it, my heart isn't in it, soul isn't in it, and I just couldn't do it. I started doing it and then I just gave up. It's got to have a life of its own for me. It's got to ask questions, answer questions, push people, even if they don't like it. I don't want anyone to stand in front of my work and have nothing to say.
Yeah.
I'd rather you didn't like it than just go, meh. But I know my work does very much divide people. You either like it or you don't.
For me, it's just a fascination of what your thoughts behind. You come across to me as a very intelligent woman, and I just think about it, the concepts behind it. I don't know if you find this, but it's not an easy way of selling that sort of work, is there?
No. But
actually, it's really clever. It's very difficult to make a living doing that sort. But you are doing what you love, and you're being true to yourself. And
I can't. I've tried. It is frustrating because I would love to earn more money than I do.
Yeah.
But I can't change.
Yeah. So you wouldn't be able to live off your income from your art.
No. I do sell, and I've got, and once I have a buyer, they tend to stick around. So most people who've bought my work will own two or three.
Yeah.
Rather
and is
than
that
just
usually
one.
a photography or your blood pictures or both? Or
a bit of both. I've had a bit of interest for the flag, the blood flag, which I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
It's sealed, by the way. You can't smell it anymore.
How would you seal it?
Yeah, just like how you do a painting.
Oh, right, with some acrylic medium.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a painter. I used to think, for years, I was a frustrated painter who can't paint, so therefore photographs. But recently, I think I'm a sculptor.
Right.
I think a lot of my work, if I could sculpt it, I would sculpt it. I always thought it would be to paint
that really, photography is your painting medium, isn't it?
Yeah, I used to think painting, but more as I've got older, I'm looking at my work now and I'm thinking actually it's quite sculptural. Because a lot of my work you have the actual image, and it's always sort of a space around it. Mostly it's a space around it, and I think that's almost like a sculpture. You would have the sculpture and then you'd have the area around the sculpture. I don't think a painter would, I mean I don't know much, but would put the thing and then not paint around it so much. Yeah. So God, I wish I could draw or paint or sculpture, but I can't. It's too slow for me. What I love about photography is it's so instant. So if I have an idea, it's there. It's there.
But you still have to have that technical ability to be able to
create
what you're trying to create.
And I'm still working with light, and I'm still working with composition, and I'm still working with colour. Yeah. I mean, if you look at certainly at the terrible images, that's the name, by the way, of the thing. They're not terrible. You'll see there's layers. Right. Very much so. I'll have the ground, with painters have their ground. You'll see that I have my ground. So my backdrop will start off with the ground image, and then I start layering to create images. And if it's in the picture, if it's in the photograph, it's meant to be there. Everything is deliberate. Every part of that image, I've thought about every inch. Yeah. So if it's in there, it's meant to be in there.
Fascinating. So when you did your MA, did you use any photography in your work there? Or was
it was all photography.
Right.
Yeah, it was all photography. Yeah, I mean, I'm a good photographer, I suppose. I know how light works, and I know how colour works, and
I'm just thinking back to your Women in Art prize, which is a self-portrait, which is was it meant to be Francis Bacon here? Was that from somewhere else? Was it?
I love Francis Bacon and Henry Moore.
Right.
And it's sort of I think it's a combination of the two.
Okay. So in that image, which you have on your website,
I do.
Assuming, you've manipulated.
I haven't.
You haven't manipulated it. So how do you get that?
That is straight out of camera.
Really?
That isn't lighting. That isn't Photoshop. It is literally a photo.
Really, I think it looks like you've got like a blur tool or something. You've gone like that with it.
And I will tell you, I'm really revealing secrets here.
Yeah.
But the mirror you get on the roll.
Oh yeah.
That people I think use it for caravans, and for a mirror and things like that.
Mirrored paper type thing.
Yeah, it's literally, and I just laid it on the floor. And again, tried to do it with my clothes on, didn't work. So I took my clothes off, and literally it's just standing. And of course, it doesn't sit straight, so it moves. And that is how that was created.
Like a crazy mirror.
So that was probably 3 seconds to produce that.
Wow.
But again, with photography, sometimes it's that quick. But then again, if you look at some of my images, like the jars, it's weeks and weeks and weeks of perfecting it. And so what you see as a photographer, and I don't know if this works with a painter, but the final product is nothing compared to how you got there.
But it is that that expression, which I can never remember the exact words but it's about like Picasso said, well, it's 3 minutes doing it, but it's 30 years of
absolutely
experience.
This is it
behind it.
So with the jars, which again I'm really proud of, there's many projects where it's a finished item for me, and there's many where it's not. But the 7 jars is a finished.
So explain the 7 jars.
So the 7 jars it started with, I'm going through the menopause, and it started with the menopause. So I was making a jam sandwich. Again, this is how the ideas come. So I was making a jam sandwich for my kids, and I was scraping the jam jar, trying to get the last little bit of jam out. And I looked in the jar and I thought, this is how I feel. I feel like an empty jar. I feel like I'm scraped clean, that there's nothing left. This is what menopause is like. And again, so that was my little trigger. So it's all about triggers with me. So that was my trigger. And then I thought, how could I photograph that? And sometimes I don't remember how I get to where I go, but that's how it started. So the empty jar was the first jar, but ironically it's the last jar in the series. But that was the first jar, and then I sort of worked back, and then you've got the 7 stages of man. So I thought, well, the 7 jars of woman. So that's why it's 7 jars.
Okay.
And the 7 jars, so each jar represents a time in my life as a sexual adult, let's say. So it's not from birth, it's kind of from late teens. So you've got a flower, you've got a piece of meat, you've got dust, you've got fish, you've got the pomegranate, you've got the empty jar. I think that's it. But each one represents, and I will tell people what each one means, but it's lovely to see viewers go and have a look, and they will interpret the jars for themselves. So I've sold the jars to men, I've sold the jars to women. The flame, it's one of the flame is the one that everyone loves. Everyone loves the flame, because really, how did I get a flame to go into the jar? And everyone thinks it's photoshopped, and it really isn't. It's petrol.
Do you use Photoshop?
No. The only time I use Photoshop is just for what I would have done in a darkroom, as in lighter, darker cropping.
Yeah.
So I use Photoshop as I would a darkroom.
Yeah.
And that's it. If I like to get it all in camera.
So you're not manipulating your pictures at all. You might, just
very
using it
rare. The only one I did a series of images, which I don't think is on the website, called Tool, which was knives with penis in. Like a reflection of a penis in the knife.
And that's not your reflection, obviously.
No. and that was about domestic violence, and it was about how men use their penis for harm. So it was a play on that kind of testosterone, rape, sexual assault, all that kind of thing. But I couldn't. I tried to get that penis in the knife, and I couldn't do it. So I had to. And I had to learn like a novice of how to do it because I'd never done it before. Right, okay. But no, I don't. And now I'm more determined not to use Photoshop because everything is so photoshopped. Yeah. That that sort of mischievous me, I will go the absolute opposite. So I will not manipulate. If I can't get it in camera, then I won't do it.
Right. Okay.
I will put those on the website. I've never sold any of those.
I don't know if there's something like putting men's bits on. It's like there's all these issues around women and everything, but actually putting a man's penis on the website is probably more shocking in a way than putting a woman.
Because we don't see it.
Yeah.
Because we don't see it. I'll get them on the website.
You're definitely going to be doing that now.
I'll get them on the website. I'm really proud of them.
Do you ever get anybody contact you saying, how dare you do that? Or
I'll tell you a funny story. Yeah. I had an exhibition in London, and this woman came over and she loved my work. She goes, I'm just going to go and get my boyfriend. And I was standing there and she brought over a boyfriend, and the boyfriend didn't know I was the artist, and he just looked at the work and he goes, what a load of shit. All she does is take her top off.
Oh, God.
And the girlfriend was very embarrassed because she knew I was the artist. But it doesn't. It doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. I get people going, certainly with the blood. Ooh, it's gross. Why would you do that? But I'm a curious person.
Yeah.
I loved it being a little bit naughty, a little bit mischievous, a little bit out there.
I just admire your courage, really, to do that. There's no, I wouldn't ever want to take my clothes off in front, show my body in front of anybody. And, I wouldn't, and don't think I'd have the nerve to do that. I think it's a really brave thing to do.
A lot of women have come up to me and said, God, how brave you are. And I'm thinking you just got to change the narrative in your mind. And I genuinely think I'm a goddess. I do, honestly. I look in the mirror and think, yeah, I would. I absolutely would. And it's just because I've trained my brain to think that way, that I look in the mirror and I'm a 54-year-old woman. I've got the stretch marks and things aren't as buoyant as they used to be, but it doesn't bother me.
Beauty.
I see beauty. Mm. One of my biggest inspirations is the Venus of Willendorf, which is I've got a tattoo on my arm. Right. And she was a goddess. And I look at her and I think that looks what I look like. So... and all Rubens, the paintings of Rubens with the large ladies, I look at them and just think absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I'd have been okay then.
Lindsay, you're gorgeous, but it's just confidence. I've got a lot of confidence.
Where do you think that comes from?
I started off in drama, and I did a lot of theatre.
Right. We can now, I suppose, now you say that, you can see that in
so A levels are all in drama. Right. Being on the gay scene, trying to keep up with with all the bitching, for want of a better word, of gay boys, and just trying to get in there so I can. And I do. I thank the male gay scene a lot for being the woman that I am.
And do you think they're very accepting of the?
Very accepting. But I think so. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've said before to you that a lot of my buyers are gay men. Yeah. Yeah. Always have been. Mm. So, I, for some reason, there's a meeting of the minds with me and the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, fantastic.
Which is, I'm very grateful for.
Yeah. So, back to your self-portraits. You put a post on Instagram recently, and it was you when you were quite younger with the Polaroids.
Oh, with Polaroids.
And you took one every day for what?
I took one every day. That was when I was doing my degree.
Right.
So, and that came from, again, a trigger, was I used to watch America's Next Top Model. And I remember watching this piece, and you know where I think scouts go out and they see women on the streets and they just take a Polaroid of that to take it. Again, this is all before digital and all before social media and the internet and all that lot. And they would go back to their model agency and this one postcard, this one Polaroid makes or breaks this woman's career kind of thing. And there was just something I thought, that's really interesting. So I thought, well, I'm just going to take a Polaroid of myself every day for a year. Again, this is all before selfies, all before any of that. And when I started it, very much at arm's length, doing a Polaroid, different sort of, and then as the year progressed, I got bored, really bored. Yeah. So they got more and more abstract to the point where you could just see one eye. And I love that sort of the decline of my sanity through these Polaroids. But again, these are one of my absolute favourite series of images. But what I did do, which I really regret now, is I used to give them away as Christmas presents and birthday presents. So I'd put them.
So you haven't got a copy?
So I've got about 150 left. Right. 40 of which I sort of use when I talk about the Polaroids, but there's a lot more. But no, I used to sort of pin them to birthday cards, Christmas cards, say happy birthday from Melody. Really regret that now.
Yeah, I bet.
Really regret it, because it would have been nice to have all 365.
So even from quite early on, it's always been about self and.
I started. I've had a few muses over my time. One called Lisa, who I'm still very good friends with. One called Sian. But no, again, it goes back to the web. Very similar with the website. You can only tell someone so many times to do something, and in the end, you just think, I'm just going to do it myself because I know what I want. Yeah. So that's where that really. I mean, really, it was the degree show, my degree show with the nudes, that I first started photographing myself. It hadn't really occurred to me, but again, I just didn't know what to do.
You never wanted to take the landscape or
no,
still
I've done it. I have done it, and one of the only few photos my mum and dad have got in their house is of a landscape because they don't really want the rest. But I did a few landscapes, but it just doesn't. I need a story.
Yeah. See, I'm the opposite. I love the landscape, but figures to me, I'm happy to look at them, but I would never want to paint one. It's not something I've ever wanted to do anything with. I don't know what it's about, bodies and figures and stuff. It's it's the opposite for me. Is it?
Yeah. See, it's got to be a story. I can't just paint something just that's attractive. It's got to be something to it. I want people
quite symbolic. So metaphorical, the right word.
Yeah. And a lot of my work is like a diary for me. So if I photographed it, then it's meant something to me, or it's happened to me, or it's something like that. I can't. It's got to be really personal. So all my work is personal.
It's nice when you say it's a diary. I can.
It is. It absolutely is. If you want to know anything about me, you just look at my work.
Yeah.
Because I think I am my work, to be honest, which is worrying.
You are your work. Your work
I am my work.
We've talked about blood. We've talked about your work, but obviously you've got quite a few. You work in series. And,
always work in a series. It's very rare that I would do a single. I don't think I've ever done a single image. It's always been a series.
So you've got the cook in the bedroom.
So the cook in the bedroom. I can tell you about that if you want. Yeah, that was nice. For me, I did my degree, and then I had from art. I had about 12, 13 years off where I didn't do anything at all, nothing. I didn't even think about art at all.
Right, okay.
Because I had children, and so I just didn't.
And you were you doing your photography?
So I was a photographer. I was working as a photographer. So photography was all about money for me. So I was still doing, working for Visit Britain, I did weddings for a while, anything that would bring the money in. And then when the boys got a little bit older, I was ready, and that was when. So basically a friend said, I'm putting on a show, come on, you haven't produced anything for years, I want you to put something into this show. And it just, well, I was gobsmacked for a start because I thought, I don't know what to do. I have no idea. I've not thought about it. And so then I thought, well, what am I going through now? And I was feeling as a woman who was trapped in a kitchen. And so, and I think as a mum and a wife, you kind of, as a woman, you lose yourself a little bit because you have to really. You've got to, you're giving so much to the kids and the home and all that lot. And as much as we like to think things have changed, not that much. And I wanted to, so it wasn't like I had a husband that made me. I wanted to be there. So, and I just looked in the kitchen and saw all these reflective, like teapots, kettles, pans, everything was reflective. And I could see myself in it, but it wasn't really me. I was sort of lost. And that's where that came from. And the cook in the bedroom is a play on the word that men like a cook in the kitchen and a whore in the bedroom. Yeah. So I just mixed it up because obviously I'm nude in the things. And there was 11 in the series. Yeah, again, very proud of that. Again, tried to do it with my clothes on. Didn't work. I had to take my clothes off for it.
Yeah, I love those. I think they're fascinating.
And the photograph like Argos catalogue. That's why it's so stark.
Oh right.
So it's almost like if you were looking for a kettle.
Yeah.
That's what you would see. So that's why it's particularly stark and white and all that.
And what about the bathroom? What was that one called? Because I really like the bathroom.
You've got the shower head. You've got the feet. Yeah. That was it all started with Frida Kahlo. So Frida Kahlo did a piece of work called What I Saw in the Water, and it's a painting of her feet with all sort of her memories of her marriage and life painted in the water. And so I thought, I love that painting, I want to do it. So that's really where it started. Right. So I did my toes, and I've sold it a couple of times actually, which is nice. And then again, I just thought, what else is in here? And then again, lots of reflective surfaces in a
there's a lot of reflective surfaces in your work, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot. Well, if you look at fashion magazines and particularly makeup magazines, it's usually a woman looking at herself in the mirror. Right. And so there's a little bit of that coming in. I think as women, we're made to think that we need to check ourselves all the time, makeup, hair, clothes, all that kind of stuff. So there was a bit of that and I avoid mirrors. I do. Not for any of the reason is it doesn't occur. It just doesn't occur to me that sometimes.
Not one of these people that every mirror, you have to have a look at.
No, and you see young people and they'll use their phone as a mirror.
Right. Okay.
It just doesn't occur to me to look. So many times I've been out with a husband and he'll just go to me, "You didn't look, did you? My hair's all like this and I've got a bit of chocolate spread down on my cheek," and So it came from that, and then there was a lot you could do in a bathroom.
I really like that series.
I like that series as well. I do.
But I find them all fascinating. So you have a studio.
I do.
And it's not in the house, it's somewhere else. So whereabouts is your studio in relation to your house, and how often do you get there?
It didn't occur to me to get a studio, and then I did a whole series, which again is not on the website, called The Vagina Painting.
Okay.
I don't think I've even told you about these.
I don't know about those.
Again, it goes back to menopause, and I was losing control of my periods, vagina, mind, all that lot. So I'm not sure this is going to make the cut.
Okay.
So I did a whole series of, I think, beautiful paintings where I put paint inside my vagina and squirt and painted.
You put paint
in. So I would put, and I would do this in this kitchen. So I put the paint up and I think there's about 20 of these paintings. They're beautiful. It's all different colours and all that kind of stuff.
What sort of paint did you use?
I use food colouring.
Okay, so you put food colouring up your...
Up my... Yes,
yeah. and then you pushed it out.
Pushed it out. And can I just say, as a side note, when I had a solo exhibition a few years ago, and I was explaining this to a man because he asked me how I did them, and he fainted.
Really?
with a pint of beer in his hand that went all over him.
No! He could make his own.
He couldn't cope. He passed out. Anyway,
really?
Yeah. So, and I used to do him in this kitchen, and my husband just said to me, and he would see paint splattered up the walls. He went, "No, you need a studio."
Well, you obviously got strong muscles.
But I didn't stay up for long, Lindsay. Didn't stay up for long.
How much did you put up there?
So not much. No, not much. But
and how did you, with a syringe or?
With a syringe. So I would take the paint and it was about taking back control. It was almost like, well, I'm just going to take control of this now because you are changing things for me, and I want to take control of my body. So it really is about control. Right. So I did those. I did sell a couple, just so you know.
Right, okay.
There's a couple
original. And would you take photographs of your painting then?
No, sold the originals.
Yeah.
Sold the originals. There's one lady, she's got it above her bed. And did
you always see just one colour, or did you mix the colours?
No, mixed colours.
Right.
Mixed colours. So she's got it, and she said that what she loves about it is the fact it makes her feel quite powerful, because that's where it comes from. It comes from being in control, powerful woman, just expressing herself. Yeah. So then I had to get a studio. So I did.
You see, I don't think that would ever cross my mind.
I'm not sure. A lot of my ideas, I look back and I don't know why I thought of it. But
they're generally about the body, aren't they?
Generally about the body, generally about women and women's issues. Yeah.
So you did your vaginal expressions.
Did those for a while. In the kitchen.
And then thought it's time I got a studio.
Yeah, paint up the walls. Husband said, right, we're going to get you a studio. So I got myself a studio just before COVID. And I've been there 3 years, 4 years.
Right,
love it. Absolutely love it. It's a nice big studio. It's bigger than this kitchen.
Yeah. Is it in an old build, like a mill?
It's like an old mill. So there's a gym downstairs, and I'm just left alone up there. It's lovely. Yeah, and it's 24 hours access as well. So when I did some of my images, that again, because I don't use Photoshop and I don't really use lighting, I'm a natural light photographer. I'm trained for studio lights, but I like everything to be natural. I suppose I like to think that everything I do, you could do.
Yeah.
There's nothing particularly intricate or special. You, Lindsay, if you had the idea, you could do it yourself. There's nothing there that would challenge anybody, really. So I just like to keep things as simple as possible. Keep it within the camera, and keep it so that.
And what does your husband think about your art?
He's really proud.
Yeah.
He's really proud. He told me once that he wouldn't necessarily have it on his wall if he was not married to me. Yeah. But now he loves it. He's really supportive. I'm very lucky, very supporting. And my two boys, they've grown to love it. I think.
But they maybe appreciate the cleverness behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I do get that a lot, that it's clever, and I do make people think a little differently about things.
Yeah. And what about your family, like your parents? Are they? I don't know if they're still around or not. But
my mum's no longer with us. My dad, not so much. He's of that generation. Did
that ever make you feel like you shouldn't do it, or did it make you want to do it more, or did you? Did it affect you in any way?
Well, everybody wants. I suppose everyone wants their approval, parents' approval, and particularly, I don't know, girls like their father's approval. I mean, he's not supportive, but he doesn't get it.
Doesn't understand.
He doesn't understand it. But saying that, I mean, in recent years, I've got him to go to a lot more galleries than he would have. I have no art in my family at all. No, there's no one artistic at all. This is all from me. I mean, no cousins, no one.
Right. Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? Right, so, well, I'm sure everybody will have found that incredibly interesting. I certainly did. I really enjoyed talking to you about it and finding out more about it. So, where can they find you? Have you got anything coming up? And have you got any advice for budding photographers or artists that you can...
So, I'm working on a couple of things that aren't photography related. I've been collecting shopping lists. I have got it on the thing. I've been collecting shopping lists for about 4 or 5 years. So I want
yours or other people's?
Other people's. So I've been scouring supermarkets for about 4 or 5 years, because I just think it's a really interesting insight to community people. You can tell by the shopping list, how old they are pretty much. You can tell if they're having a party. You can tell. I can usually tell if they're male or female. So I just find that quite fascinating. What are you going to do with them?
There is a book, actually, because I bought a friend a book and it was shop for Christmas.
Yeah, I would like to get... Because I've collected them in the Huddersfield area where I live, so I would like to get an exhibition within Huddersfield, because obviously it's the people of Huddersfield.
And what are you going to do with them?
There's a thing called, and I can never remember the word of it. Back in history of art, they used to prove a painter was a really good painter, they would paint a notice board so well that people would go up and think it was a notice board, and it's not.
Okay.
So, and I can't. It's called quid something or other. But anyway, that's how I'd like to present it. So, basically, in very large notice boards. You know, the ones with the string across.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do that. I'm working on a sculpture at the moment.
Ah, yeah. In what? Not in blood.
Not in blood. I'm collaborating with another artist on that. So that is, we're keeping that under a hat because I think that could be quite successful.
Right.
Still.
And how do you find, if you get an exhibition or something like that, how does that come about usually for you?
It's tough because it's changed. You'll know this as well, Lindsay, from everybody wants to be an artist now. And certainly since COVID, it's because people were doing a lot of it in the COVID years. So you're up against celebrities who now want to be artists. I mean, I read somewhere, where did I read somewhere? Oh, Chrissy Hind is now doing painting. And you're thinking, this is who you've got to compete with.
Yeah.
You know, you're competing.
I suppose, though, if you're creative, you're creative. So a lot of people have multidisciplinary ways of doing things.
Absolutely.
So they're going to get a lot more attention, aren't they?
But I know that if a gallery had the choice between me or Chrissy Hind, sometimes they know the footfall is going to come with Chrissy Hind more than it is with me. And galleries are struggling as well. Yeah. You know, I know a lot of galleries that have closed down and all that. But as a photographer, keep doing it. Be prepared to not get a lot of work. It's all changing. It's still a beautiful avenue of art, and it's just hard. Don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up.
Don't give up. But it's in me. I can't do it. I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
And believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And because that's what will separate you from another artist is if you
follow
believe
your passion.
Yeah, and Instagram is important. I'm Melody Thornton Artist on Instagram.
Yeah.
And the website is melodythornton.uk.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. I found that absolutely fascinating.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's been lovely talking to you.
It's been really nice to visit you in home Firth as well. It's been really lovely. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. Join me next week where I'll be talking to artist Kane Cunningham.